Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
Hey there, everybody. It's Dr. Roto. Get out the insurance cards. Get out the copay. The office is open, my friends. And today, it was the NFL trade deadline. And usually when we have the NFL trade deadline, it's like flatline, right? Maybe there's a trade. Maybe it's like some backup tight end for some random 6th-round pick in 2025 or something ridiculous like that. But this year, man, the names were just flying off the trade wires. Some shocker trades. So we'll break them down. We'll break down the waiver wire picks of the week. We'll take your chats. We'll take your comments, maybe your phone calls. Maybe somebody wants to come in and say, hi, we're here at the Bettor Sports Network, and I am Dr. Roto, and I am on call for the next 2 hours, and I'm excited about being here. So let's break it down. The first one, hanging out, seeing Mama Roto, and I go on my phone and I see the Vikings acquired TJ Hawkinson, a 2023 4th-round pick, and a 2024 conditional 4th for a 2023 2nd-round pick. Shocker. Real shocker. First shock was, why would the Lions trade Hawkinson? This is a guy you build around. Secondly, if you're going to trade Hawkinson, don't trade him to one of your most hated rivals, a divisional opponent. You're going to have to see this guy for the next, decade, something like that. So let's break it down. First, great trade for the Vikings. Great trade. Irv Smith is not so hot. Not only that, Irv Smith is out for the next 10 weeks. Bye-bye. Gone. The Vikings think they have a chance to go far this year. And interestingly enough, they probably do. I don't think they're a great team, but you don't want to lose Irv Smith and go with Johnny Munt. So if you could bring in a Hawkinson, you're giving yourself a real shot to compete, because this guy is absolutely one of the top 10 tight ends in the league, arguably top 5 or 6. So for the Vikings' sake, you've got Justin Jefferson, superstar. You've got Adam Thielen, arguably slowing down a little bit. Still effective, but not the old Adam Thielen. You got KJ Osborne, who I think we could all agree is not special. But now you got TJ Hawkinson. And now you got him coming over the middle. And now you have to have defenses cover Hawkinson when they really didn't cover Irv Smith that much. Because Irv Smith, from the beginning of this year, and if you remember that game against the Philadelphia Eagles, where he dropped the easiest touchdown pass I think I've ever seen, he's just been underwhelming. But now you add a Pro Bowl type of player in Hawkinson, and you've improved your offense dramatically. So the Vikings offense goes from 7 out of 10 to 8.5 out of 10. That's a big upgrade. It's definitely a big upgrade. So let's not kid ourselves. I think that the Vikings did a really good job here by getting Hawkinson. Now, plus I got a couple other picks, and they give away a 2nd-round pick. I have no problem with that. Now I get that a 2nd-round pick is a pretty darn good player. I get that. But you're getting Hawkinson. And you got to give up something to get something. Plus, you got 2 4th-round picks. I have no problem. For the Lions, let me explain this to you. And this is just how I'm seeing it. I've been talking about this on the show for a month now. Amon-Ra St. Brown and TJ Hawkinson travel the same route tree. And when we saw how good Hawkinson was, it was when Amon-Ra St. Brown wasn't playing. When they're both on the field, St. Brown is the better player, and Jared Goff has been going to him. So it kind of renders Hawkinson less effective. Not that he's bad. I'm not knocking him, not in the least. I'm just saying that they travel the same circles. Right? They travel the same circles. So, what I'm trying to get at is his presence there was not as vital for the Lions offense as it may have seemed. Right? So, I can see why the Lions felt that they could trade him. That said, I don't ever think it's a good idea to trade him. I don't think it's a great idea to trade him. Okay? So, I would tell you that advantage here to the Vikings, trying out this guy Mitchell, Brock Wright. The Lions, I think, made a big mistake here. I think they will look back on this and they will say that we made a big mistake here. All right. Welcome to some people here. My guy Spy07. His high stake teams are improving. Like to hear that, Spy. A. Ross says, is my website easy? It is easy. Check out drroto.com. The rankings will be up tomorrow or Thursday. All right. Better Boss says hi. And he says, can Terrace Marshall be a league winner? I don't know about that, Better Boss, but I know I like him. And I know that PJ Walker likes him. Heat Override finds us here. What's up, Heat? Welcome to the Bettor Sports Network. Haven't seen you here before. Edward Rouse says, Brock Wright worth a pickup as a replacement. No, Brock Wright did catch a couple of touchdowns last year. He's a big dude, but I don't see it. Am I buying the James Mitchell hype? I'm buying that James Mitchell is young and athletic, and I'm buying that he's going to have an opportunity. So there you have it. Spy says, I have a good team, but I'm weak at quarterback. I have Stafford and Lawrence, but I'm thinking of stashing Watson. Yeah, right now. Got to do it now. He's got $787 up to Fab. I like round numbers, Spy. So 47, 57, something like that. I think that's about right. I'm not going crazy, but I think you need him. So let's do that. Speaking of tight ends, does the middle become more open now for Cole Kmet? It has to be. So we'll get to that trade in a little bit, replay reel. No jumping ahead, but we're going to get to that, I promise. All right. So the Vikings deal with Hawkinson. We go Hawkinson up to the Vikings. I'll give the Vikings A- on this deal, and I'll give the Lions a C. All right. Next one. Oh, there you go, Heat. There you go, replay reel. The Bears acquire Chase Claypool for the Steelers for a 2023 second-round pick. I will say this is actually a good deal for both teams. Firstly, I believe when Kenny Pickett was talking about the fact that the Steelers weren't putting in enough time and effort and studying, I truly believe that he meant it was Chase Claypool. 100%. Without question. I think Chase Claypool has always been that athletic guy who never had to put the work in. And those guys become mid. They don't become stars. Chase Claypool is a freakish athlete. He could be a star athletically. But is he in here, right? Is he here a star? I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's a star up here. Now, he's also a little cray-cray. He demands the football. Well, you're not getting the football when you have hands like George Pickens. You're not getting the football when you run routes like Deontay Johnson. You're not getting the football where you're always in the right spot like Patty Fry. So, sorry, Chase, you're a gadget guy on the Steelers. You go to Chicago and, hello, friend, you become a starter, a big-time starter, right? You got Mooney, you got Claypool, you got Fields throwing downfield, and now all of a sudden, you're on a crappy team, Claypool. And the seat says Featherstone, not the greatest hands, but you're going to have an opportunity to get the football if Justin Fields throws it. But I do like what the Bears have done in stretching the field. You've got Claypool, you got Mooney, you stretch the field, you get Velus Jones doing some, random routes, you get Cole Kmet over the middle, you run the ball with Khalil Herbert, who is better than David Montgomery. Don't kid yourself. Khalil Herbert is better. Told you this. Told you Tony Pollard was better too. You think Ezekiel Elliott could have broken off those runs like Tony Pollard? No chance. No chance. So I like that for the Bears. Now for the Steelers, sometimes it's addition by subtraction. I think Claypool was a malcontent. I think Claypool wanted more money than he was worth. And without Claypool, give the ball more to George Pickens, give the ball more to Deontay Johnson, give the ball more to Patty Fry. And don't forget this name. If you're in a dynasty league, Calvin Austin III. Love this guy. Loved him when they drafted him. He's injured. He's out for the year. But this is a guy who next year easily comes back and should be starting. Easily. Very talented player. So I don't think they needed Claypool. You get a big fat second round pick, and you know the Bears pick is going to be good. You know that it's going to be a top 10 pick in the second round. So what are we looking at? A top 40 pick in the draft? No problem. Go get a better guy than Claypool. Get a guy who's more team-oriented. When Kenny Pickett, a rookie, is calling a team out for not being, not studying enough, not concentrating, that tells you everything you want to know. I really think this helps Kenny Pickett. I love Kenny Pickett. Maybe not this year, but moving forward, I love this kid. I think he's a gamer. You throw to Pickens, you throw to Deontay, or you throw to Patty Fry, you're onto something. Now, the Steelers have to fire their offensive coordinator, who's not very good. Matt Canada. Go back to Canada, dude. Not good. Not good. I don't like the plays that they're calling at all. But I think this is a win-win for both teams. So I will give both teams a B+ here. I think the Bears needed Claypool, and I think the Steelers needed to get rid of Claypool. All right, so let's see some questions here. A. Ross asks, what do I think of her defense this week? I haven't even looked at this week. Come on, you guys should know me better than that. I'm not lying. I'm in waivers right now. I don't even know what's going on yet. Maybe tomorrow night, after waivers are over, I start to hone in on what's going on this week. I truly, outside of like the Seahawks and Cardinals, and I think the Texans are here. Well, welcome, A. Ross. He's new here. Well, for this hour, I'm here 2 days a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. So let me tell you how I run it. Truly on Tuesdays, I'm thinking about the games from last weekend, and I'm thinking about waivers. By the time you get me on Friday night at 10 p.m., I'm locked in. By the time you hear me Saturday morning on SiriusXM, I'm locked in. By the time you get me on Discord at drroto.com on Sundays, locked in. Right? Total focus at that point. So I got to be honest, I don't always know who's playing this weekend on Tuesday because I'm just processing what I've seen. I'm processing the players. I'm in 25 leagues. I got to figure out which guys are coming and which guys are going out. And like Heat Override, I do it old school. Pad and paper. It's crazy, right? Crazy how we do it. It's the only way I know how to do it. It's like building DFS lineups by hand. It's literally like building DFS lineups by hand, which admittedly I do. All right. Fanatic says, evening. What's up, Fanatic? Need running help badly. Trading away Justin Jefferson, Brandon Cooks, and Gus Edwards for ETN, Devonta Smith, and Ayuk. No, we don't do that. We don't trade away Justin Jefferson. I like ETN too, but Devonta Smith is a number 2. Ayuk is a number 2. Brandon Cooks is still a number 1, and I would not do that trade. I would not do that trade. I just think I'm not giving away Jefferson. Cooks is still with the Texans. I get that. But Gus Edwards, when he's healthy, he gets the opportunity. So I don't think I'd do that trade. Let's see. SI says, hey, Doc, would I drop Gus Edwards for Hines or Drake? We'll get to Hines. I think that was a very, very good deal by Buffalo. Very good deal by Buffalo. There were a lot, it's funny. There were a lot of really good deals today. So I broke down that one. I'll break down one more. Okay. The Steelers acquire William Jackson and a conditional 7th round pick from the Commanders for a conditional 6th round pick in 2025. Here's the problem. Paying for him. If I'm the Steelers, I don't want to waste money on William Jackson, who I don't think is great. But if you've seen the Steelers secondary, it's wretched. I mean, A.J. Brown probably could have had 14 touchdowns. He only hit 3. So I get why the Steelers did it. I don't know. I like it more for the Commanders. Jackson wasn't even playing. He was a malcontent. So they go up from a 7th round to a 6th round. I'd probably take that deal and just get rid of him. All right. So let's see. Somebody asks, would I trade Damian Pierce for ETN? No, I wouldn't. So let's hold off on that. Spy says, what do I think of Ronnie Rivers in a deep league? I don't. I think of Kyron Williams. And Heat Override is my resident Ram guy. He's my resident Ram genius over here. We all know that the Golden Domer, Kyron Williams, will be the starter. I think it could happen as soon as this week. You want to load up on Kyron. Ronnie Rivers? Poo-poo. Poo-poo. All right, I'm breaking down the trades. I'm breaking down the waiver wire. I'm Dr. Roto. I'll be back right after this.
On call with Dr. Roto. The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com.
I got to tell this story, okay? So we're out in Canton, Ohio, and we decide to go eat late at night, like after midnight. We decide to go to the Waffle House. Somehow, Fensty's never been there, even though he lives near it. I'm in New York, New Jersey. There's no Waffle House close by. So if you go to the Waffle House, what are you going to eat more than likely? Pancakes, waffles, eggs, and all that, right? So, of course, our guy Rich, he gets breakfast. I get breakfast. Fensty doesn't. He's never been to a Waffle House. How do you not have waffles? Like, it makes no sense.
Dude, there's a time for waffles.
I eat breakfast at midnight. Come on, man.
That's the thing. I didn't want breakfast, man. I got like, what was it, like a cheesesteak sandwich or something like that?
That's like someone who has never been to IHOP going there and ordering a burger. Who does that?
That I wouldn't do. That I would not.
That's
well, first
the
of all,
equivalent of what you did. Well, I don't even know what you had.
I got the steak sandwich, which was
steak
excellent,
sandwich at the Waffle House. Never been there, and that's what you get. You're an odd guy, man. You're an
I'm
odd
not
guy.
an odd guy.
Yes, you are. Can we get a vote? Can we get a vote in the chat, please? I mean, if you've never been to Waffle House and you get a steak wrap, something's wrong with you, right? Don't you have to get waffles and eggs and bacon and all that? It's the Waffle House.
Yeah, I hear you, man. It was my first time, okay? Ordering the hash browns was already complicated enough. Smothered and covered, and it's almost like it's crazy how much combinations you can have. And I know that everybody's killing me for it right now. And no, to our producers, I don't get pasta at a steakhouse or anything like that. No,
Alfredo, that's what he gets at the steakhouse.
Do you follow me on Instagram? I'm always on that grill. You know how much I love steak. Why would I go to a steakhouse to get pasta?
Because you go to Waffle House to get steak wraps. That's why.
I didn't know it was all waffles, bro. I thought it had like a little bit of everything. That's why. You know, I didn't realize they were famous for the waffles. Hey, look. You know,
the name of the place is the Waffle House. What else would they be famous for?
You know what? That's fine. I guess it's a hot take getting a steak sandwich. As long as it was good, I housed that thing in 10 seconds.
Okay, you were never there, and that's the first time. You're not going to try a waffle? Do you admit it was a mistake?
I don't really like waffles, man.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk done better. The doctor is in. Get your prescription to win fantasy sports and betting on Better Sports Network.
All right, I'm hoping by now that Fensty's finally gone to a Waffle House. All right, I'm just saying, Fensty, go have a waffle, live a little bit. All right, let's get to the trades. Here was another one. This one was a little bit shocking to me. Makes sense, though. The Dolphins acquired Bradley Chubb and a 2025 fifth-round pick from the Broncos in exchange for Chase Edmonds, a 2024 fourth round, and San Francisco's 2023 first-round pick. Now, let's just talk briefly about San Francisco's 2023 first-round pick. Probably going to be a bottom 5 pick. So it's still a first-rounder, but it's a bottom 5 first round, especially the way Christian McCaffrey looks. Do I like the deal? Let's break it down from the Broncos. Bradley Chubb is more name than game. If I asked you, is Bradley Chubb a top 15 guy. And Heat is one of the best IDP players I know. I would think even Heat would tell you that he's not a top player. He's good. He's good, but he's not a superstar. He's not a superstar IDP guy, right? So I think he helps the Dolphins. I think he helps the Dolphins bring pressure because if the Dolphins want to make a deep run, they need to put more pressure on the quarterback. Now, I want to look at something super quick for a second, so bear with me. One moment, please. Please hold. Please continue to hold. All right, Dolphins. Here we go. Box score. So I'm going to the defense. How many sacks did the Dolphins have with the Detroit Lions? 1. Where's the pressure coming from? Zach Seiler? He had the sack. Roquan Davis? Phillips? Wilkins, who's been a disappointment. Christian Wilkins, to me, big disappointment. Bradley Chubb helps that team immeasurably. A lot. More than that first round pick. Because if they want to make a run, they need to get the most out of Bradley Chubb. And by the way, Heat is very right. I love Javon Holland. Their safety, love that guy. And I think it's good for him too. But I think Chubb helps the Dolphins. Chubb is worth the first round pick for the Dolphins to sit there and say, can we make this guy the pass rusher we thought he could be when he came out? I think the answer is I'd give it a shot. Now, the 25 for the 20 for the fourth, whatever. It's really for the first round pick. So I give that a B for the Dolphins. It's a lot to give up, but Bradley Chubb might be worth it. Might be worth it. Is he a star? Like I said, he's not a star. Let me check something out here. Want to get you the exact numbers. Broncos and Jaguars. Bradley Chubb. One moment. Thank you for holding. So he's got 5.5 sacks in the year. 26 tackles, 5.5 sacks. So, I mean, he's got to get, and he had 2.5 of those sacks in one game against Indianapolis. If he could get 5.5 sacks the remainder of the year for the Dolphins, I think they'd be pretty happy about those sacks. I think they'd want more, but you need to put pressure on the quarterback. If you can't put pressure on the quarterback and protect your quarterback, you lose. And if you don't sack Josh Allen, you lose. If you don't get to Patrick Mahomes, you lose. And where's the Super Bowl going through? It's going through Buffalo or it's going through Kansas City. Now, so somebody's got to sack Patrick Mahomes or Josh Allen. Could Bradley Chubb be that guy? Yes. Yes. Now, do I like this deal for Denver? I think I do. Look, Chase Edmonds is a good running back. They lost Javonte Williams. I don't think the law firm of Gordon, Murray, and Mack is so great. I think Chase Edmonds is clearly the best back in that backfield, and I know they said that Melvin Gordon is still the lead back. Delusional. Stop the madness. Give the ball to Chase Edmonds. He's good at least. And this way you don't have to rush Javonte back. And then I do like them getting that first round pick. So I got Edmonds, who helps me now. I got Edmonds, who might help me next year when Javonte's still out and still coming back. And I get a first round. I think I take the shot at it. I do. All right. Spy says, Doc, would you even pick up Sky Moore in a deep league? No, not this year. No, maybe next year, but I don't think he's out of the consideration this year. I think it's a wasted pick, especially now with Tony. And let me ask you this question. I was on the phone with my friend Jack today, really sharp guy. And Jack says, do you not think that Andy Reid reached out to Mike Kafka, and Mike Kafka was the passing game coordinator for the Chiefs before he became the Giants offensive coordinator. Do you think Andy Reid didn't call up Kafka and say, hey, what do you think about this Tony guy? Yeah, I think he's all right. Well, you think Andy Reid's giving up 2 picks if he didn't get the blessing? No. So I think Sky Moore's in trouble. I think you got Juju, you got Valdez Scantling, you got Mecole Hardman, who looks pretty good, and now you got Kadarius Toney. All right, A-Ross says I'm going to drop Melvin Gordon this week. Any opposition to that? No, I highly encourage it. Bye-bye. Guy sucks. He was good a few years ago. But Latavius Murray, for my money, looks better. And Chase Edmonds is going to have a role in that offense. All right. Let me just finish up with the Dolphins before I go to the other two. Now, when the Dolphins made this trade, I said to myself, who's going to back up Raheem Mostert? Well, the Dolphins answer this. The Dolphins acquired Jeff Wilson from the 49ers for a 2023 fifth-round pick. Kind of love that. Kind of love that. Jeff Wilson is good. Raheem Mostert is good. Mike McDaniel knows both of them. Spy said you thought it was Gaskin. I did too for about a millisecond. Jeff Wilson knows Mike McDaniel. Jeff Wilson knows that offense. So does Mostert. They know each other. I love it. And now, don't worry, Elijah Mitchell's back. You have Tyron Davis-Price. San Francisco didn't need Jeff Wilson. You get a fifth-round pick. You give Jeff Wilson an opportunity. Have a good one. Merce asks, what are the thoughts on Edmonds? I just mentioned that. I like Edmonds. Not immediately. Give him a week. Let him learn the playbook. I think he could certainly be a third down back. I think he certainly could be a guy that gets about, I'd say 15 touches. He's certainly better than Murray and Gordon. Now, he's not going to be the goal line back for sure. He probably only have maybe 1 or 2 touchdowns this year. But could he not have 15 touches for 80 all-purpose yards and maybe 4 receptions? Sure. What's that worth? 12 points? Sure. Russell Wilson likes throwing his back. Got no problem with that. So I love that deal for the Dolphins. 5th-round pick, you can have it. Give me Jeff Wilson. So I've added Jeff Wilson and Bradley Chubb. I gave up Chase Edmonds and a 1st-round pick. No brainer. No brainer. Done. Done. Okay. Calvin Ridley. The Jaguars acquired Calvin Ridley from the Falcons for 2 conditional. Ian Rappaport says Ridley will, they use the word fetch. What's up with that? Do better. Do better, NBC Sports Edge. Either a 5th or 6th-round pick. They'll also send a 2024 2nd, 3rd, or 4th-round pick, depending on the playtime threshold, long-term extension, all these other things. I kind of love it. I kind of love it. Why? Firstly, you got to give Trevor Lawrence a number 1 receiver. Christian Kirk is not a number 1. He's a number 2.5. Zay Jones is a number 3. Marvin Jones is going to be done soon. I don't think Calvin Ridley could go back to Atlanta. I think they've moved on. You have Drake London. You got Kyle Pitts. He just needed to give him another address. Now, will Calvin Ridley be happy playing in Jacksonville? Probably not. However, Calvin Ridley played in Alabama, played in Georgia, Jacksonville, keep him close to his family. That's not going to kill you. Gets to play with Trevor Lawrence, who's all right, who needs a number 1 guy. You got Travis Etienne there. I like the move from Jacksonville. Calvin Ridley is a star. And I think what happened to him is absolutely the Goodell hammer, which I don't think it needed to be that kind of hammer. I mean, was the guy that bad? Did he do what Deshaun Watson did? Did he do what Ray Rice did? Those guys deserved way worse than they got. Calvin Ridley, they threw the book at this guy for something that wasn't even that bad. Come on. That was poorly done. And I've always said this, that they that the contract that the union side that signed that made Goodell the judge, the jury, and the executioner was absolutely one of the worst deals in the history of modern sports. DeMaurice Smith should be ashamed of himself. I mean, come on. You're the NFL Players Association, and you hired the worst lawyer. Now, let me tell you something about lawyers for a second. There's 2 lawyers. One lawyer is number 1 in his class at Harvard, and one guy's number 485th at Toro Law School in New York. You know what they both have in common? If they pass the bar exam, they're both lawyers. That doesn't mean they're both the same. Ridiculous. How do you sign a deal like that? Horrible. Back to Ridley. I like it for Jacksonville. Upside. Big upside. If he comes back and is 80% of who he was, he's still better than Christian Kirk. He's a game changer. And you got to give Trevor Lawrence a playmaker. Because right now you have Travis Etienne and a bunch of Jags. And when I say Jags, I don't mean Jaguars. I mean just guys. Maybe Kirk is a little better than that. But is Evan Ingram great? No. Is Zay Jones great? No. These guys are 3s and 4s on other teams. On Jacksonville, they become stars. It's truly, I'm telling you the truth. All right, taking a little time out. When we come back, there was a trade that made me very upset today. Very upset. What was this trade? I'll let you know when I return right after this.
On call with Dr. Roto.
All right, let's see Corey's card of the day. You go first. I feel like I've
Silver.
stolen all of
I
it.
got silver card of one of my favorite. He plays on my favorite basketball team. He's not Ja Morant, but he is Desmond Bain. And I got a true silver Desmond Bain. Check out that bad boy right there. Look how it's glistening.
I was going to say, you can
Desmond
see like the
Bain.
little rainbow colors when you move it around and stuff too. Yeah.
Desmond Bain, true silver. Desmond Bain coming off a big year last year. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have the odds in front of me, but I wouldn't be surprised if Desmond Bain is a contender for the NBA's most improved player this year. Obviously, the Memphis Grizzlies will be in contention in the Western Conference. They got the big Christmas Day game versus the Golden State Warriors. But yeah, my man Desmond Bain should be in the three-point contest this year. Should be a most improved player candidate. True silver Desmond Bain. That joint right there is pretty tight.
Are you ready for this one?
Let's do it.
You know what? Are you a Griffey guy? I kind of got Griffey fatigue from everyone sweating Griffey cards so hard during the pandemic.
Ken Griffey?
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Jr.?
Not
Of course,
Griffey.
I know he's the greatest baseball player ever.
Griffey card fatigue.
Nah, No,
All right.
I'm a Ken Griffey supporter.
Then you love this. Back in 2019, so Topps, Topps does the Throwback Thursday stuff.
Okay.
You're gonna find a recurring theme. I don't really collect normal stuff. So they made what they do. What they do with the in the early days of Throwback Thursday, they would take the old sets, like they take like the Cyndi Lauper set, or like the Gremlins set, or even like the '76 basketball set, and they would put the current players on them. There's like throwback.
That's a good look.
Yeah, throwback designs of their actual cards with the players, whatever players they wanted. So Topps did a Simpsons set back in the day.
Okay.
And they put together the entire team that was playing on the Simpsons team in that episode of Homer Bat.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Ken. So I got the whole set. Obviously, they only made 300. Here's the cool. They only made like 372 of these sets. So like 372 of these Ken Griffeys exist. I don't know how many SGC 10s there are.
Yeah.
I sent this one in myself.
No, that's lit. If you think that's lit, put a fire emoji in the chat because that's lit right there. That's lit. I love it. That is very. No, you have a very creative mind to put that Simpson thing and Ken Griffey Jr. together. Yeah, and yeah, that is a lit card right there, Nando. You do some good card shopping. Me, I'm going out here buying all of these prisms and stuff, trying to hit the big one, and you just like, yo, let me find Winnie the Pooper.
I wasn't looking for it. It found me.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk. Sports talk done better. On call with Dr. Roto on Better Sports Network.
All right. We are back. Dr. Roto here at the Better Sports Network. Taking your questions, taking your comments, talking about the trade deadline. Going to be talking about the waiver wire soon. Got a lot to talk about. I even want to talk about Steve Nash, by the way. All right. I'm very upset about a trade. I am. I'm very upset about a trade. But B-Dub said, trade question. I was offered Kirk, Ertz, and Christian Watson and 3 firsts for Pitts and Dynasty. Yeah, 3 firsts? Do it. I would do that. I mean, I like Kyle Pitts, but I don't like the quarterback situation in Atlanta. I mean, I think this last week you saw Kyle Pitts do what exactly. That's like a good game. That's a great game for Kyle Pitts. It's a great game. So if I can get Christian Kirk, who's solid, Watson, who could be good, Ertz, who's solid, and 3 first-round picks, I think I'd do that deal. Especially because the next couple of years, the drafts are very strong. Very strong. And I think the 3 first-round picks allows you to maneuver. You take Ertz and you take a pick and you trade it for something else. You take Watson, you take a pick, you trade it for something else. I could do a lot with 3 first-round picks. All right. A-Ross says, rest of season standard scoring. Would you rather have Lazard, Jacoby, Claypool, Joshua Palmer, or Pickens? I would rather have Lazard and Pickens. Lazard because he has the best quarterback out of the bunch, and he has proven that he scores touchdowns. Pickens because he is a freak in nature. Claypool has Mooney, not good. Joshua Palmer is like the 3rd or 4th choice there. And Jacoby Myers, look, I know he's got a couple of touchdowns, but it's like he's doubled his career total. Something like that, right? He's got a lot this year. So as much as I like him, I don't think I would do that. I think Lazard and Pickens are clearly the best 2. Pickens is an athletic freak. Lazard, though, has great hands, and he has the trust of Aaron Rodgers. But I don't know what that tells you right now. Aaron Rodgers looks fried. Done. All right. There was a trade that made me very sad today. And I knew the writing was all over the place. The writing was on the wall. It was on the wall. It's big, fat writing. And the writing said, Dr. Roto, this trade is going to piss you off. That's what the writing said. It was like I could see the writing. The Bills have been talking about McCaffrey, Kareem Hunt, getting running backs. And I'm sitting there saying, but you have James Cook. You've got James Cook. But they don't seem to like James Cook as much as I like James Cook. So the Bills go and they acquire Nyheim Hines for the Colts for Zach Moss and a 6th-round pick. Woe is me. I wanted Cook to be that guy. I wanted Cook to be the guy. That Singletary was still the main running back, but I wanted Singletary to be 60 and Cook to be 40. But leave it to the Bills. Leave it to the Buffalo Bills. Because the Buffalo Bills are smart and they are well run. Brandon Beane, check. Sean McDermott, check. 2 smart dudes. And they knew that Hines was available. Why? Because Deion Jackson is pretty good. And they knew that Hines fits that team perfectly. Because you are hoping that James Cook becomes Nyheim Hines. Zach Moss is nothing. You didn't want him anyway. Addition by subtraction. Cook goes to your 3rd running back spot. You got Singletary and Hines. And as you're making the run in the playoffs to the Super Bowl, you've added a guy who, if Singletary gets hurt, you could run with Nyheim Hines and Cook. If Singletary doesn't get hurt, you can win with Singletary and Nyheim Hines. So it was pretty darn good. It's pretty darn good. What's Singletary's value after the Hines trade? Let's not overrate Hines. I think Singletary knows the offense. He's clearly the number 1. And Josh Allen doesn't throw the ball a ton to his running backs because he has such good receivers. But I think Singletary's value takes a little bit of a hit. It was never great. He's not a goal line guy. He just had some plays, he's done well. He's done well in the past, but he's not great. And I think Hines is more of a supporting role, getting about 40 to 45% of the touches, keeping Singletary fresh, and making Buffalo deeper. Replay says Kyron Williams or Deion Jackson. Kyron Williams, dude, is going to be the starter. Kyron Williams will be the starter. Deion Jackson now becomes a 60-40, maybe a 70-30. But Jonathan Taylor just looks off to me. He looks off. And if they choose to shut him down, that's where Deion Jackson could step in. But I do think Kyron Williams is the guy that, if you told me which guy do I want right now and I could have one, I would probably take Kyron Williams. But I do like Deion Jackson. I think he's a winner. Deion Jackson won in this deal. Why? Because this number 2 guy, the job is his. It is clearly his. Clearly his. Drop the second quarterback in Tennessee. I'm confused. You talking about dropping Malik Willis for Kyron? Malik Willis stinks. Malik Willis, here's what Malik Willis showed me. This guy needs 2 more years of grooming. This guy is so not ready. If I'm Tennessee, I'm literally paying Ryan Tannehill again. Oh, drop Dak and 10 team for Kyron. I don't know about that. I don't know. Probably not. I think I got to hold Dak. But I'm not against it because I only run with 1 quarterback in a 10-team league. But could I try to move Dak? Probably would. So there you have it. Were there other trades? Yeah, but they were minor. Does Zach Moss have a role in the Colts? Yeah, I think so. Not much. He needs Jonathan Taylor to be shut down, which I don't see happening anytime soon. And let me tell you something. Here was something I think was under the radar today. The Colts fired Marcus Brady, their offensive coordinator. Erlinger did not look good until the 4th quarter. This is a guy who needs to throw the ball downfield, and they were dinking and dunking. This is not this guy's game. He's a guy who's mobile, and he throws it deep. Don't make a Clydesdale a thoroughbred racer. That's what you do. Can't change a guy. A guy is who he is at this point. He likes to throw the ball downfield. You're dinking and dunking. No wonder you're losing. By the way, great comeback by the Commanders. For my money, I think Taylor Heineke is better than Carson Wentz. And here's the word I'm going to use for Taylor Heineke. Grit. He'll make mistakes. He'll do a lot of dumb things. He'll do some things and you'll be like, really? But ask yourself this, Commanders fans, and I said this to my son. I said, I believe the Commanders are going to win this game because this guy has no fear in these situations. He may make a mistake, but it won't because he's afraid. Carson Wentz, I believe, gets afraid in these positions. Carson Wentz couldn't go on the road and beat Jacksonville last year to get in the playoffs. I think Heineke wins that game. How about that? I think Heineke wins that game. He may not be great. He might not be the best quarterback I've ever seen, but he wins that game. And I think the Commanders he threw the ball at Terry McLaurin. He just chucked it up there and gave his guy make a play, Terry. Make a play. And you know what Terry McLaurin did? He made a play. He made a play. That's what you want your guys to do. You put them in a position to make a play, and they do. That's your job as a quarterback. It's actually what Johnny Football did back at Texas A&M. Threw the ball in the air and said, Mike Williams, bring it down. You know what Mike Evans did? Mike Evans brought it down. It's what Mason Rudolph did to James Washington in Oklahoma State. Chucked it downfield. James Washington came down with the football. So you got to give you guys a shot. Replay says, do I drop Rachaad White for Kyron? You know my feelings on Rachaad White. The second you drop in is the second that Leonard Fournette gets hurt, and then you're going to regret it. So I'd like to drop somebody else. Essie says, do I think I drop Gus Edwards for either Hines or Drake? No. Let's not overrate Hines. Hines does not walk into Buffalo and become the starting running back. Devin Singletary is a starting running back. What Hines is is a better fallback option than James Cook, who they didn't trust. Let's understand that. James Cook did not have the trust of that coaching staff, but Hines does. That's why he's there. They wanted to upgrade that position. Gus Edwards, I mean, when they get to the 10-yard line, forget Lamar Jackson, they hand the ball to Gus the Bus. So I want the touchdowns there. I want the touchdowns. All right, going to take a little time out. When I come back, I am going to talk. Let's see, were there any more moves? No. I'm going to talk about something that I don't normally talk about. And you know what? I think it's actually pretty interesting. And I think I will bring a conspiracy theory to the Bettor Sports Network when we return right after this.
On Call with Dr. Roto. Hang out in the Bettor Zone, where you track NFL live action on Bettor Sports Network.
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that when I look at the lines, I say, okay, if it's a Detroit game, I'm probably going to bet the over. I'm going to look for ways for it to go to the under, but I'm probably going to bet the over. There's certain things that I look at, and I don't know if that's a smart way to do it, because you're using something that happened as biased, but to this point, it seems to be working out.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own strategy, right? On how they bet. I always tell people all the time, hey, whatever works for you, do it. It's kind of like in the old days, I used to be a personal trainer, and people would come in thinking there was only one way to work out, right? And I like, no, you got to find what works for you and your lifestyle. Plenty of ways to lose weight, and there's not one style. And I think betting's just like that. It took me years to figure out the right style for me. So, I had some tough runs as a youngster growing up, but you figure the stuff out. I don't really care what the public and the sharps are betting. I just don't. Like, I understand it's an interesting little nugget that people put out there, but I don't think it impacts the game. So that's something I don't really look at much.
Middling is something we could try to do. You bet a team pregame -4, you live bet the other team +10. You can win both. Can you talk about that? Middling.
Listen, middling is that's why it's always hard to say like what the sharps are on. Sometimes the sharps are on 3 different plays in the same game. This is how they bet. They're looking for the best number, then live, they'll come in again on the other team. They're looking to hit this both ways. So that's a more advanced betting strategy that I don't think most people would do. But yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea. And again, when there's more games like in college, it's a little easier to do because you can find some good situations there. I try to do it once in a while. I probably don't do it as much as I should. Yeah, it's a great strategy.
Hang out in the Bettor Zone for a better NFL game day experience. Sundays at 1 Eastern on Bettor Sports Network. On Call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right. You guys know I love talking football, but I could talk all sports. I can talk basketball, baseball, hockey, probably even cricket, Sri Lanka if I have to. But right now, the Brooklyn Nets, a little conspiracy theory here. All of a sudden, driving on Alligator Alley, and my son texts me, goes, Nash is out. I was like, all right, that time. Wasn't vibing the Nash in Brooklyn right now. And then maybe about an hour later, Ime Udoka is going to be the Nets coach. Does that sound a little bit too convenient for you? Do you not think this was set up? Isn't it supposed to be fire Coach A, hire Coach B 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days from now? To fire a guy at like noon and to announce the next guy at 1, do we not think that this was in discussions? Isn't that not allowed? Call me crazy. Isn't that against the rules? I get why Boston wants to get rid of him. It was a headache. They were never bringing him back. And it made sense. They were never bringing him back. He went against teams' rules. It was done. Much easier for the Celtics to move on from him. Much. But, it's a little shady. Fire Steve Nash on Tuesday. Go through a period where you're interviewing a couple of guys. And then on Saturday or Sunday, you announce the next guy. When you announce him 5 minutes later, it tells you this was all in cahoots. I don't know why nobody said anything about this yet. Just stinks. I have no problem if it happens, but it's so suspect. Sus. Come on. Now, I don't know what happened with Udoka. I don't know exactly. I wish I did. Do I think he's a good coach? I do. I think he's a real good coach. Do I think it's virtually impossible to coach Kyrie and Durant and Simmons? It is a brutal job, and I don't wish that on anybody. You need Pat Riley. You need Red Auerbach. You need Phil Jackson. You need Coach K. You need somebody of that magnitude who can deal with these personalities. Udoka might be one of the closest guys, not legend, to do it because he knows these guys from his time at the Nets, and they respected him a lot. And trust me, the Celtics bought into his system, and the Celtics looked great last year. Celtics were close to winning it all. Very close. And he was a major reason why they were that close. So if the Nets are willing to come together as a team and play together, which is not easy for these guys, Udoka is probably the only guy around who could still give this team a chance to win. Will it happen? I don't know. Will they blow it up? Maybe. But if they blow it up, I might as well have Udoka, who's a great coach. And if I don't want to blow it up, he might be able to save it. Steve Nash, I don't know. He's got a lacrosse team in Las Vegas that he can work on. I don't think Nash needs to worry about it. Greatest athlete in the history of Canada. I mean, great basketball player. Got a bad deal in Brooklyn. You know, when he didn't win the first year, it just got worse. So I just think the whole thing was very suspect. That's what I want to get to. It's suspect. You know, I like things. Be on the level. Don't be shady. There's no need to be shady. All right. Time now to take a look at the waiver wire. Things I want to do tonight. I want to look at the waiver wire. I want to take a first look at the week's games. I also wanted to do something where I go through and I create my first DK roster for my visceral response. Meaning, and this is literally like the first time I'm looking at this and the first time I even know who's playing. Outside of Seahawks and Cardinals, I have no idea. So I'll look at it and I'll just go up and down and go, I like this. I like this. And then I just get an idea, a feel for which players have good matchups. And we could talk about that. So let's break down the waiver wire. First, Justin Fields. I assume he's available in some leagues, maybe not all. Certainly in some of the shallow leagues, he could be available. They've done a pretty good job of bringing him along. You add Claypool, Kmet hopefully steps up, but they're now catering the offense to his skill set, which they weren't doing. But they're going to hammer the ball to Khalil Herbert and David Montgomery. That is number one. They're going to play good defense. But of course, when you give up Roquan Smith, that's never a good thing. But I think that Fields, I've said all along the following. Fields throws 200 yards. Fields throws one touchdown. Fields runs 60 yards. Congratulations. I just gave you 20 fantasy points. It's doable. It's doable every week. So is he worth picking up? You bet. Marcus Mariota. So this was a guy who I felt very strongly that he was not going to be the quarterback by week 10. But look at Atlanta right now. Atlanta is arguably playing the best football in that division. Now, are they going to make the playoffs? I doubt it. I doubt it. But you can't get rid of Mariota unless A, he gets injured, or B, they start to go on a losing streak. If that doesn't happen, Desmond Ridder doesn't play, and Marcus Mariota plays. So I think it's somebody that I'm looking at. And now that I see it here, I love his matchup against the Chargers. What's the one thing the Chargers don't do well? Stop the run. What's the one thing the Falcons do well? Run. I'm not telling you the Falcons are winning. I'm telling you the Falcons will be closer in this game than you think. They will. They'll be closer in this game than you think. Let me see something. Please hold. Let's see. Yeah. Chargers are only favored by 3. Chargers are only favored by 3. Interesting. All right. I talked about my boy Taylor Heineke. I like Taylor Heineke if he's out there. Now, look, you might only get a week. Maybe you get 2. I don't know. Edward Rouse says, by the way, Marcus Mariota has done nothing but win football games his whole life when healthy. Agreed. Marcus Mariota is a much better quarterback than people give him credit for. He just hasn't stayed healthy. But if he can, he can be successful. And look, Desmond Ridder is just a younger version of Mariota. They have a similar game. It's similar. Now, Spy says Arthur Smith will be down 3 touchdowns. He'll still run the ball. I think he's starting to trust Mariota just a little more. Mariota last week threw the ball a ton. For him. What did he have last week? Yeah. 20 for 28. That's a lot. 28 is a ton. But 20 for 28, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. That's where you want to be. If I'm Arthur Smith, I want to be 19 for 27, 18 for 26. I want to be accurate. Now, do I think they have to throw the ball to Drake London more? Yes. Do I think they have to get him more involved? Yes. Is that, Spy says that's not a lot of passes. It's not. But you're giving your team the best chance to win because your team is built to run the football. And now Patterson should be back. I expect Patterson back. I think Algier has earned that job. I do. I love that 25-yard touchdown reception. Loved it. Pitts had, one of his best games of the year. Played good football. And Atlanta did it, shockingly. Is Damian Williams a speculative ad? No, not my favorite. I like Algier. I don't think Damian Williams is a special player. I think Algier is the guy that I think I'd lean toward. And I think Patterson will be used. And Arthur Smith knows how to use Patterson. He figured out the riddle of Patterson. Patterson is a very hard guy to coach because is he a receiver? Is he a returner? Is he a running back? How do you use him correctly? Arthur Smith figured that out. Got to give him credit for that. PJ Walker. It's amazing. When the year started, Baker Mayfield was the quarterback. Awful. Matt Rule was the coach. Awful. And by the way, my friend Jack, I was on the phone with earlier today, said, do you remember when the Giants wanted Matt Rule and they were upset that he didn't go there? Oh my God. Woo. The Giants escaped. Brian Dable or Matt Rule. Filet mignon or spam in a can. And don't tell me you like spam. Unless you live in Hawaii. But PJ Walker, I like Steve Wilkes, by the way. Steve Wilkes got a raw deal a few years back in Arizona. They only had him for 1 year. Then they fired him, brought in Cliff Kingsbury. Not special. Steve Wilkes is a guy. And you know what? He's calm. I like his demeanor on the sideline. That would not be my demeanor. I'd be the guy screaming at people. I would be. I'm admitting that. Because I try to motivate. Right? I coached for many years. I loved all my players. Did I give them tough love? I did. But my players knew I loved them. But, Steve Wilkes is very chill. He's got this calmness, which I like. And he lets PJ Walker throw. And they now have Terrace Marshall, who McAdoo said was going to get more involved, and he looked good. You got DJ Moore, who's great. I loved when Matt Rule said that the receivers had to do a better job of getting open for Baker Mayfield. What a joke. What a joke. How about Baker Mayfield had to do a better job of throwing to those receivers? Baker's lucky if he plays in Edmonton next year. Saskatchewan or something. I like Ellinger a little bit. I do. I like him. I like Ellinger a little bit. I think that they're going to let him play and let him throw. I love Alec Pierce. I love Paris Campbell. I love Michael Pittman. I think the Colts are onto something. Just have to get the defense was better too this week. It's better. Leonard makes such a difference, but they need a quarterback. But I'm willing to give him a shot. And I'll throw one more out to you, Mac Jones. Nobody likes Mac Jones. I like Mac Jones. I do. Bill Belichick don't like Mac Jones, but I think Mac Jones is a winner. You don't play at Alabama. You don't win national championships. You don't make it look so easy and not be good. And Mac Jones took the Patriots to the playoffs last year. Don't forget that as a rookie. All right, I'm taking a timeout. When I come back, I'm breaking down some running backs. I'm sure I'm going to get to some wide receivers, tight ends, waiver wire right after this.
On call with Dr. Roto. Talk about your picks, your fantasy teams, and your sports collectibles on Bettor Sports Network.
By the way, if you are a commissioner out there, if someone does not pay, that's on you at the end of the day. It sucks. That's why you have to get the money early, because if they don't pay, it's on you. You don't change the prize. A winner shouldn't be impacted because unfortunately you messed up as commissioner. And I've been caught with this before. I've made this mistake. It sucks, and I had to go out of pocket for it. You learn that maybe some of your friends should not be in that league. But Roan, we see it all the time with commissioner issues, and I can't stress it enough that when it comes down to league payment, it's on the commissioner if they don't have everybody's entry fee and someone decides to ghost them.
Yeah, I had to collect 36 entry fees this year. All of them were collected except one. And it was one of my friends who said he was going to pay the second. I forgot to remind him. He might even be listening, but I know he's going to pay. If not, I know where he lives. But nah, he'll pay. But yeah, I mean,
big brother Adam Rodas over here.
And even the guy that I've talked about before that usually always pays me at the end, he actually paid on time this time. He usually is like, I'll pay you on Friday, and then it doesn't come, and then it's 4 months later. And he always winds up paying. That's why I don't really get upset. But you've seen my emails, and I don't play around. Like, This is the date. This is the date. You get it in by then. And I always, too, I'm like, the draft order will be determined when everyone pays. Right. So don't hit me up about the draft order. Once everyone pays, then the draft order will be done. And anyone who's been in this league, now Festi can't attest to this because he's never won money in my league, but the people who do win, they get it right away. Usually the next day or two. Just make sure the scoring, especially with football, no scoring changes, as long as it's not like a point victory, half a point, and then they'll get the money right away.
What about 2 points?
Yeah, wait it out just in case something crazy happens. I guess I don't wait till Thursday when the official scoring happens.
Yeah, man. A championship that I was in years ago got reversed, and I ended up winning on a Thursday stat correction.
Yeah, that kind of sucks. You hope it doesn't come down to that. If you're on the better end of that, it's great. But man, imagine thinking you won, you got the money, and then it changes. That's tough.
Make bets and follow your fantasy team while you buy, sell, and trade collectibles in real time. Only on Bettor Sports Network. On call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back. By the way, I'm literally just looking at this week for the first time. What a bad game on Thursday night. The Eagles, Texans. Oh. Eagles -14. Did you notice, by the way, if you watched any of that game with the Texans, the stands were empty. The stands were empty for that game. And I think Texan fans want to root, but who's going to watch that team play? Ugh. All right, let's get to some running backs. It's kind of dicey. The running backs are kind of dicey. There's not a lot of guys where I'm like, ooh, I need this guy. I don't feel like there are any game changers. So let me give you the best piece of advice right now. because I'm going to give you some names here, and I'm not sure any of them are special. Chuba Hubbard is fine. Okay. I mean, he's certainly going to be the receiving back. And, Foreman will be not, the main first and second down back and the goal line back. So I like Chuba Hubbard too. Would I bid $150 on him? No. 50, 60, something like that out of 1,000. I have Khalil Herbert. I love me some Khalil Herbert. And by the way, before I get to Khalil Herbert, I said Foreman will be the lead back. He will be the lead back. But Chuba Hubbard will be involved. Chuba Hubbard is a good receiving back, and he has better hands than Foreman. So Foreman it's a 60-40 type of split where Foreman's getting the first down carries, probably getting the second down carries, and he's getting the red zone carries. But Hubbard will be out there. Hubbard will, let's call it 20-10. There's 30 touches. Let's give Hubbard 10 and Foreman 20. So back to Khalil Herbert. I don't think that the Bears will ever go to Khalil Herbert as their lead back because they have Montgomery. And I don't think that, even though I believe that Herbert is better, even if I was a coach, I'd make it 60-40. I'd give Herbert, more, maybe 18-12, 17-13, because Montgomery needs to be involved. I don't want to run Herbert to the ground. Speaking of running Herbert to the ground, did you see Derrick Henry had 32 carries last week? Why would you ever give that dude 32 carries? Horrible. So if Herbert's available, I like him a lot. Kenyon Drake is interesting to me. I don't love Kenyon Drake. I like him. I don't love him. I think Gus Edwards is the more guaranteed player in that offense. I think Justice Hill is still there. I still think Lamar, gets super involved. So I'm okay with Kenyon Drake, but I'm not buying into him 100%. So if you want to spend 50, 60, 70 bucks, maybe 80, you want to go to 100, okay. But somebody's going to go $200, $300, $400. It's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. Bettor says drafting both Montgomery and Herbert was a mistake. No more drafting handcuffs, only last round injury insurance. Well, that's the problem, right? And I think Bettor puts it in this way. So in a dynasty league I was in, I had Zeke and Pollard. And let me tell you what I did. Many weeks I started both of them. But you're not winning that way. You got to have one guy on one team and one guy on another team. But when you have two guys who share carries like that, you're always choosing the wrong guy and you're only getting 60% of the pie. And that's the problem. I want guys who have 80% of the pie. But I'll give you a guy in just a second who I love as a pickup. Love this guy as a pickup. Love him. It's coming. Promise you. Kyron Williams. I love Kyron Williams. I mentioned him before. I like him. I think he's going to be the starter. He's somebody that I'm looking at. Jermichael Hasty. I think it was clear that he was the backup to Travis Etienne. When you're giving Travis Etienne 30 touches of a football, I want to have Jermichael Hasty close by. I'm not saying Hasty's great. I'm saying Etienne is not the biggest dude. So when you're giving him 30 touches of a football, something could happen. Put Jermichael Hasty there for me, just in case. My guy. Now, I love Rachaad White. That has been, it's a tale as long as time. I like Jaylen Warren. I like this kid, Jaylen Warren, for the Steelers. And here's what I love about him. You're never playing him until you are. He's going to sit on your bench and do nothing. But if Najee Harris is out, you're playing Jaylen Warren. If Najee Harris, Warren, he's like that ideal handcuff because you don't want to play him. You have no interest in playing him. There's no reason to play him until there is. Then there's a lot of reasons to play him. A lot of major reasons to play him. So I'm not interested in playing him. until I am. Edward Rouse says my handcuff drafts are Robinson, Etienne, and Edmonds, Mostert. Now I have 0 handcuffs. I know. Look, I did not draft any James Robinson. None. I drafted Etienne. I drafted no Edmonds, and I have a little Mostert. I wish I had more. A lot of smart guys, Vlad Sedler, Nelson Sousa, they were all over Mostert. They were all over Mostert, and I just wasn't. I should have been. I don't know. I just saw it as, it's funny when I go back and I think of my thinking now, and I think of what I thought about then. So what was I thinking then? I was thinking Edmonds was going to be involved. I thought Mostert was going to be more of the goal line guy. I didn't think they would take Edmonds out. I think that they brought him over and paid him a lot of money. And remember, the money never lies. Follow the money. Right? It's like Jack Ryan. Follow the money. You follow that scent and you find things. That's how the cops find the bad guys. They look for the money. So Greg from Mississippi, add Jermichael Hasty as ETN handcuff. Yes. Look, Greg, I know you know Snoop Connor well, but Hasty was out there. There was no Snoop Connor last week. There was a lot of Hasty. So I would add, if you have ETN, I would just put Hasty on the thing. Replay. You mentioned Damier Byrd. Don't get ahead of me here, Replay. Don't get ahead of me. I didn't get to wide receivers, did I? But I do like Damier Byrd. We'll talk about him in a little bit. So I think the thing to do with running backs is to get the handcuff guy who is a non-threatening sort. So let's see. I'm trying to think. Hasty. Chuba. Because I'm not playing Chuba, right? Who else? Zamir White. If I had Josh Jacobs, I'd roster Zamir White. Because if Josh Jacobs got hurt, I would expect Zamir White to play. I think he's that kind of guy too. Huntley, I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that with Huntley, and here's why. Huntley's look good, but now that Patterson will be back and Williams will be back with Algier, I'm not sure how that shakes out. So I like Huntley. I'm not sold on Huntley. Better Boss asked Zach Moss. Yeah, I mean, if I'm in a 16-team league, I stick Zach Moss as like my last guy on the bench because I don't think he plays. But if something happens to Taylor, he plays. But I'm never waking up and going, good idea to play Zach Moss. Never. Until it is. Trying to think. Yeah, Jalen Martin. That's a guy that comes to me. It was Donta Foreman when McCaffrey was there, right? Nobody wanted Donta Foreman. I got him in one of the last rounds of a dynasty startup draft. Now I'm playing him in every week. He's a starter. Kyron Williams. Here's a guy that I think really hurt people. A.J. Dillon. But you can't cut A.J. Dillon. Because when you cut A.J. Dillon, if Aaron Jones got hurt this week, is A.J. Dillon not going for $900 in fab? He is. He's that guy. So you're kind of stuck with him. But the problem is you don't want to play him because he's not that good. He's great when Jones is out. But when Jones is not out, not good. A-Ross says, what about Huntley this week? Good matchup. Just looking to block my opponent. He's hurting with bias. I don't ever want to pick up guys to block my opponent. If Huntley plays, I like him. If Patterson doesn't play, if Williams doesn't play, I like Huntley this week because I like the Falcons against the Chargers. The Falcons are going to run the ball against the Chargers. That's facts. Who is Barkley's handcuff, Breida or Brightwell? I think it's Matt Breida. I do. I think it's Matt Breida. Brian Dable is familiar with him from his days in Buffalo. I like Brightwell, but I think Breida is the guy that the Giants would rely on. He'd be the first shot. But Brightwell is one of those guys, in a dynasty, if I had a spot, in a big dynasty league, I'd stick him there. Who knows what happens with Saquon? I think the Giants are going to have to address this situation immediately. Are they going to bring back Saquon? Are they going to pay Saquon? If they're not going to pay Saquon, they better draft another guy for Saquon because I don't think you're winning with Matt Breida or Gary Brightwell. It's not good enough. So the Giants are in that position where they're playing better than expected, but it's almost too soon because now they have to. If the Giants were 1-7 at this point, they're not bringing back Barkley. But at 6-2, you say to yourself, Barkley's pretty darn good. We look pretty good with Barkley. Do we sign him to the deal? I don't know. I think the answer is this. I would treat running backs like a factory. So let's just say I drafted Bijan Robinson, who pretty darn good, right? From Texas. Then in Bijan's second or third year, I draft another running back, probably in his second year. So that when Bijan is on his fifth year, this guy's on his third year. Then I get rid of Bijan, bring in a guy in his first year, and then it becomes this treadmill that every 2 years I'm rotating backs. So I'm always having one back in my offense who's the lead back and one back in my offense who's here. And I just keep on rolling it like a hamster wheel. I think that's probably the right way to do it. All right, you know what else is the right way to do? It's the right way to take a break. And then I come back and I drop some wide receiver names. And you want these receiver names. I got a couple of guys. I got a guy who I think has been dropped in your league that I would pick up right now. So we'll take a break right here.
On call with Dr. Roto. Front Yard Fantasy, weekday mornings at 7 Eastern.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just banning the porn bots real quick.
Whenever the porn bots, I will say, dude, whenever the porn bots show up, it means we're doing something good. It means that we're showing up. So, you know, they wouldn't find us if we weren't, if the live stream wasn't good. So, you know what? We welcome you here. Tinder-hot-xyz-best adult dating site. One of our biggest fans.
I detach all of my self-worth to how many porn bots come into our show in the morning. If we don't get any porn bots, I go the rest of the day thinking like, what did I do wrong? Why didn't Tinder-xyz.com want to hang out with me this morning?
Yeah. People ask, how was the show? I'm like, not that good.
No porn
bot showed up.
Moose and Keith, weekdays at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Because I never asked you this. When Noah was growing up, when did Noah first where you got a sense that this is what my son wanted to do?
I was really busy during his formative years. I didn't meet Noah until he was about 19.
Nice.
So,
your wife did a good job.
Yeah, you may want to talk to my wife. I would say about first vision, he started showing a legitimate interest. He started getting curious about how I prepared, what it required, and then I saw a little bit of a shift, 14, 15, where he was concentrating on the on-cameras, the interaction between play-by-play and analyst, and started probably taking mental notes at that point of the performance aspect of, okay, you do all this prep, but you got to go out and deliver it. So, yeah, probably that 14, 15 range, I thought to myself, this could be something he really wants to do.
Bettor Sports Network is betting, fantasy, collectibles. It's sports talk done better. The doctor is in. Get your prescription to win fantasy sports and betting on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, we're back. By the way, Spy, good having you on with us. And by the way, I do like him. Your last comment is one of the guys I'm talking about. So let's talk about wide receivers. Spy mentioned Terrace Marshall. Ben McAdoo said when they traded Robbie Anderson, this was an opportunity to play Terrace Marshall. Terrace Marshall played where? LSU. Where do great offensive players come from? LSU. They just do. They're just guys who play well in the pros. They play very well in the pros. So let me give you 6 wide receivers I'm looking at. First guy I'm looking at is Terrace Marshall. Is he a league winner? Probably not. But is he a league 12 to 15 point player a week? Maybe. Now let me see something here. He was dirt cheap on DraftKings last week. I think he was $3,400. This week, one moment, please. Please hold. I'm going to guess 4,500. 3,900 against Cincinnati. Might want to sign me up on that one. He will go up to close to 5,000 by the end of the season. Maybe over. Maybe about 5,200. He's got talent. I like him. I like Josh Palmer. I was a big Josh Palmer fan at the beginning of the year. Mike Williams is going to be out for some time. Josh Palmer slides in that lineup. Keenan Allen Roto's back. Been a while since we've seen him on the field. So Palmer is in play. Let me see how much Palmer is. I kind of like him. I don't know if I like him against, 5,100. Yeah, not bad. Not bad. It's about right, the right price for him. Darius Slayton, I'm okay with. I don't love Darius Slayton. I find like he's very mediocre. But is he the second best receiver on the Giants? Is he a starter on the Giants? He is. Does he play well with Daniel Jones? He does. Is he a guy that I'm focusing on? No. But he's certainly a guy that I'm interested in. I mean, this is a big bye week nightmare. This is a week when you go onto your teams, you're like, oh my God, bye. I'm in one league. I don't even have a quarterback. I don't have a quarterback in the league. I actually made a trade offer to the Bettor boss. I'm sure he's going to say no because that's what he does. But it doesn't mean it wasn't a fair trade. He's got like 17 quarterbacks. But let me give you the guy. I'm going to give you the guy that I think people have dropped in leagues, especially in shallow leagues. I think people have dropped him because the offense is not great. His name is Treylon Burks. And this was a guy I was very high on when the season started. I think he's a freak of nature. I think he's fast. I think he's strong. I think he's got good hands. But the Titans don't throw the ball that much, and he's been hurt. But I think there's a chance he could have been dropped in one of your leagues. And I think if you're looking at a guy who could be an impact player down the stretch, Treylon Burks is one of those guys. So I do like him a lot. Same thing with Jahan Dotson. If Jahan Dotson is out there, I think you pick him up. But I honestly like Burks more because I think Dotson has to compete with McLaurin. He has to compete with Samuel, where Burks competes with nobody. Don't tell me Robert Woods. And by the way, I said it earlier in the show. I want to say it again. Malik Willis is bad. He is not ready. Ryan Tannehill is there, and that is good for Treylon Burks. It's good for him. Replay mentioned Damiere Byrd. Yeah, Damiere Byrd looks like the wide receiver 2 for the Falcons. And here's what I like about Byrd. Byrd played for the Panthers. That was actually a revenge narrative game. People forgot about that one. Byrd played for the Panthers. Played when Cam Newton was a quarterback. So Byrd is interesting. They just don't throw enough there. Van Jefferson is out there. Do I like Van Jefferson? I do. Do I love him? No. But if Cooper Kupp is not 100%, Van Jefferson is way more interesting then. So would I pick him up? Sure. Because if Cooper Kupp is out for any reason with that ankle, Van Jefferson is immediately in my lineup. But here's the problem. Palmer has Justin Herbert, not a problem. Darius Slayton has Daniel Jones, not interested. Terrace Marshall has PJ Walker. Burks has Tannehill. Byrd has Mariota. Why do I say that? I want guys on good teams. And so when I did some underdog fantasies this year, I had a lot of stacks. Lions, Texans, Packers, Broncos. My teams stink. You don't win with bad teams. You win with good players on good teams. That's how you win. You don't win with the Texans. I mean, Brandon Cooks has been a bust. If I had to do it over again, I wouldn't have this dude on any of my teams. It's killing me. Because when the Texans are struggling to score 17 points, I'm hoping to get a touchdown from him. I usually don't. I get 7 for 54. I feel thankful. The Buffalo Bills put up 37 points a game. I have a better chance of getting a higher scoring game out of Isaiah McKenzie than Brandon Cook sometimes. And Isaiah McKenzie is number 3, but he's a number 3 on a good team versus being number 1 on a wretched team. Wretched. All right, so let me throw some tight ends into this segment. Greg Dulcich. Like him a lot. Like him a lot. Played wide receiver a lot at UCLA. They've converted him to tight end. Runs good routes, has good hands, has developed chemistry with Russell Wilson. I like him. I really like Isaiah Likely. Now, Rashad Bateman is going to be out. It's going to be out for a few weeks. And I think what we're going to see, and we have seen it from the Ravens before, the 2 tight end offense, Andrews and Likely. You'll run a little Duvernay, maybe a little Prochet, but those guys aren't important, superfluous. Likely, Andrews, Gus, Drake, Lamar. There you go. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. I like Isaiah Likely. If he's out there in leagues, pick him up now. Now. I will most likely be overspending on him. I don't know if it's going to hit or not, but I know it's a play that I want to make. Now, am I going to go crazy on him? No, he's a tight end. But $40, $50 is a lot on a tight end because I know I need to save my money for some point around week 12 or 13 when somebody is out there and I need that guy. So I still need to save some money. I'll be a little more aggressive. Like early in the season, I'd be 15 on him. Now I might be 45 on him. Tyler Conklin, I think, is a man of interest for me. I think he's... Oh, and I want to get to a Jet note in a second. Oh, don't want to forget this. He's out there. He is... I was surprised that the Vikings, moved on from him because I liked him more than Irv Smith. But I think that Conklin has proven that he's pretty solid. He's a man in the discussions. He's a pretty solid player. I like him. Speaking of the Jets, Robert Saleh came out today and said, Mike White is our backup quarterback. We know what we have in Joe Flacco, but we need to see Mike White. That tells me there's just an inkling back here in Robert Saleh's brain that they may move Mike White in if they like what they see. Mike White played pretty decently last year. Zach Wilson has not played great this year, not been that impressed with him. Joe Flacco's 40 years old. Come on. Mike White might be the guy that the Jets bring in this year if they have to. Zach Wilson gets hurt tomorrow. You bring in Mike White and you see what you got. I don't need to bring in Flacco. I need to bring in Mike White. Now, what the Jets really need to do is integrate Elijah Moore in that offense. If you drafted Elijah Moore in round 5, you did nothing wrong. You did absolutely nothing wrong. It made sense. He's a good athlete. He's a pretty darn good receiver. And if Elijah Moore was traded to the right team, you would argue he could be one of the top receivers in the NFL. But on the Jets, with a rookie quarterback, when I love the thing where he said, do you have chemistry? He goes, I don't know. He doesn't throw me the ball. And whose fault is that? Zach Wilson's, the coaching staff. I was listening to Keyshawn, and I don't always listen to that show, but I was listening to Keyshawn, and Keyshawn Johnson said, if the Jets staff wanted Elijah Moore involved, he'd be involved. You would design plays for him. You'd get him involved. You'd throw him the football. They haven't done that. I think it's a monumental mistake. Look, you've got Elijah Moore. You've got Tyler Conklin, who I told you I like. You got Garrett Wilson. You have Breece Hall-Roto when healthy. You have Michael Carter. You have pieces there. You got to use them. You can't just go to one guy. And if I'm Elijah Moore and I've been one of the best players wherever I've been for my entire career, and now I got a guy who won't throw me the football, it is frustrating. Frustrates me. If I'm a Jet fan, I'm absolutely frustrated. 100% frustrated. Why don't they give this guy the football? Why don't they throw it to him? The best teams use multiple guys. When you throw to one guy, it's good. But when you throw to two, it's better. Kelsey, Tyreek Waddle, Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith. When you go to the one guy, Pittman, you need some Alec Pierce. You need some Paris Campbell. Because if you keep on going to the one guy, the safety comes over. So you have the cornerback and the safety. This guy can't get open. Make it easy for your players. Make it easy for your players. So, by the way, on Friday, remember last week, I gave you some winners. I gave you the Saints. When we start talking about the games in depth on Friday, we will break down teams, prop betting wise and sports betting wise, who are the best bets. Because when we analyze the games make sense. The games make sense. They become more clear. Styles make fights. The Chargers go into Atlanta. The Chargers like to throw. Falcons like to run. If the Falcons get out to a lead, they sit on the ball and they run. You watch a Falcon game by 3:43 in the afternoon, they're already late in the fourth quarter. In other games, the fourth quarter just starts. Why? Because out there running the football. The Lions used to do that with Matthew Stafford there. Lion games would be over by 3:52 because they run the ball more. So we have to analyze the games. We have to break them down. All right, I'm taking a little break. When I come back, here's what I'm doing. I'm taking a look at my visceral DK team. The first team, the first guys that I like. I'll let you know who they are when we return right after this.
On call with Dr. Roto.
All right, let's see Corey's card of the day. You go first. I feel like I've stolen all of
I
it.
got silver card of one of my favorite. He plays on my favorite basketball team. He's not John Morant, but he is Desmond Bain. And I got a true silver Desmond Bain. Check out that bad boy right there. Look how it's glistening.
I was going to say, you can see like the little rainbow colors when you move it around and stuff too. Yeah.
Desmond Bain, true silver. Desmond Bain coming off a big year last year. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't have the odds in front of me, but I wouldn't be surprised if Desmond Bain is a contender for the NBA's most improved player this year. Obviously, the Memphis Grizzlies will be in contention in the Western Conference. They got the big Christmas Day game versus the Golden State Warriors. But yeah, my man Desmond Bain should be in the three-point contest this year. Should be a most improved player candidate. True silver, Desmond Bain. That joint right there is pretty tight.
Are you ready for this one?
Let's do it.
You know what? Are you a Griffey guy? I kind of got Griffey fatigue from everyone sweating Griffey cards so hard during the pandemic.
Kent Griffey?
Yeah.
The kid, Kent Griffey Jr.?
Not
of course,
Griffey.
I know he's the greatest baseball player ever.
Griffey card fatigue.
Nah, No, I'm a Ken Griffey supporter.
Then you love this. Back in 2019, so Topps does a Throwback Thursday stuff.
Okay.
You're gonna find a recurring theme. I don't really collect normal stuff. So they made what they do. What they do with the in the early days of Throwback Thursday, they would take the old sets, like they take like the Cyndi Lauper set, or like the Gremlins set, or even like the '76 basketball set, and they would put the current players on them. Those like throwback.
That's a good look.
Yeah, throwback designs of their actual cards with the players, whatever players they wanted. So Topps did a Simpsons set back in the day.
Okay.
And they put together the entire team that was playing on the Simpsons team in that episode. Homer at Bat.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Ken. So I got the whole set. Obviously, they only made 300. Here's the cool. They only made like 372 of these sets. So like 372 of these Ken Griffeys exist. I don't know how many SGC 10s there are. Yeah. I sent this one in myself.
No, that's lit. If you think that's lit, put a fire emoji in the chat because that's lit right there. That's lit. I love it. That is very no. You have a very creative mind to put that Simpson thing and Ken Griffey Jr. together. Yeah, and yeah, that is a lit card right there, Nando. You do some good card shopping. Me, I'm going out here buying all of these prisms and stuff, trying to hit the big one, and you just like, yo, let me find Winnie the Pooper.
I wasn't looking for it. It found me.
Better Sports Network. It's sports talk. Sports talk done better. On call with Dr. Roto on Better Sports Network.
All right, welcome back. Dr. Roto here, the Better Sports Network. So now what I want to do is I want to take a look at my first look at DK. Now, I do this for FanDuel as well. But sometimes, I don't know, I just go to DK because the PPR, because most of the leagues I play in are PPR leagues. And what I try to do here is I say, this is my team on Tuesday. Tuesday night, 11:35 p.m. Eastern Time. This is what I'm thinking. Does it hold up over the week? Is the team that I pick on Tuesday the same team that I like on Saturday or Sunday? Because by Saturday at 3 a.m., I have a whole different perspective of what I like. Sunday at noon, I'm taking a look at the inactives and I'm making some final changes. So let's see. Josh Allen, 8,500. No. Kyler Murray at home against Seattle. Interesting. 7,400. Justin Herbert, 7,200. No. Tua. Everybody's going to be on Tua. I won't be on Tua. Joe Burrow. No, thank you. Kirk Cousins, revenge narrative against the Washington Commanders. I don't like Minnesota on the road. And I think if they fall behind in this game, this is a Brian Robinson love fest. TB12. Interesting. Not against it. Aaron Rodgers against Detroit. Hello, friend. Geno Smith. No. Matthew Stafford. No. Jared Goff. No. Derek Carr. No. Heineke. No. Fields. No. PJ Walker. Interesting. Maybe. Mac Jones. No. Zach Wilson. Oof. This game could be bad. This game could be like 38-3. I don't really like no quarterback is speaking to me, except I think Aaron Rodgers is speaking to me a little bit at 5,900, or Tom Brady. One of those two guys is speaking to me. Of course, I could be speaking, I'm old. Don't play me, Dr. Roto. You're an idiot. So let me see. All right, at running back, Eckler against Atlanta. I like it. Dalvin Cook. No thanks. Jonathan Taylor, no thanks. Aaron Jones, I think so. I could see myself doing a Rodgers-Jones combo platter. Josh Jacobs, maybe. I mean, the Raiders know that they're better with Josh Jacobs. Leonard Fournette, maybe. Mixon, no. Swift. Dan Campbell just today said that Swift was not getting a full complement of carries anymore. He's not fully healthy. Look fully healthy to me, dude. ETN, I don't. Okay, let me give you a piece of advice here. Never chase last week's stats. Ever. Just because ETN was good in week 8 doesn't make him good in week 9. He's playing Las Vegas, and I don't know. I think Las Vegas comes to play this week, so I'm going to say no. Stevenson, I like, but no. Kenneth Walker, interesting. Mostert, interesting, especially with no Roquan. Montgomery, never interesting. Donta Foreman, interesting. Eno, no. Patterson, too expensive. James Conner, that's an interesting one. Haven't heard that name in a while. Been injured a while. I actually used him last year. He won me a lot of money when I played him in the same game. I could go back there. I could see it, especially if he's playing this week. I could go back there. I like that a little bit. Anybody else shouting? Algier, I do. I like Algier at 54. I like him. Brian Robinson, I told you I like him a lot too. I think both those guys are somewhat interesting depending on the game flow. Let's see. Are there any cheapies? Chase Edmonds, no. Huntley is interesting if he gets the ball. I'm looking at Kyron Williams. How much is he? But I don't know if they start him. Let's see if Kyron's even out there. Kyron Williams, 4,000. As I asked for Justin Herbert, here's the problem. I'm not against Justin Herbert at all. It's game flow. If the Chargers get out to a lead, they'll throw, and they'll force Atlanta to throw, and the game could be a track meet. If Atlanta gets out to the lead, they're going to slow this game down, and Justin Herbert is not going to go for a lot of yards. Now, what I also like to do at this point, if it's up, I will go to Prize Picks because I think Prize Picks is solid. And what do I mean by that is they don't inflate. So if I go to the NFL, pass yards, Justin Herbert, 270. All right, that tells me something. That tells me where they think he's going to be, and that tells me Vegas is not far off from that. So Justin Herbert is in play, Si. Marcus Mariota's at 165. I told you that. I might even go under there because they're going to run that football. Aaron Rodgers, 240. Told you Aaron Rodgers, right? Goff is at 240. Tua is at 260. That feels inflated to me. Josh Allen's at 285. Zach Wilson's at 217. Kirk Cousins, 255. That feels a little high. Geno Smith at 220. Kyler, 250. Matthew Stafford at 250. Tom Brady, 275. Did I not tell you Tom Brady? I did, right? Nobody wants to play Tom Brady. Nobody wants to play Tom Brady against the Rams. He's been awful. But Prize Picks has him at 275 and a half. They're telling you something. Let them help you. Now, what I like to do next is I like to go and check out the prop bets and see what Vegas is thinking, if anything. Yeah, it's a little too soon for Vegas. It's a little too soon. Come a little bit later this week. That's why I like Prize Picks. Now, this came up earlier. Prize Picks lines shift throughout the week. They shift. So let's just argue. I'll give you a good example. Last week, I had DeAndre Hopkins. I got him on Prize Picks at 70.5 yards. Steal. That was on Thursday. Saturday night, he went up to 76.5. Why? He got steamed. He got steamed. And you just paid 6 more yards. That's a lot. Now, did he go over? He went over. But it went up 6 yards. So if you like a guy early in the week, go there. Now, I want to give you a really great Prize Picks Monkey Knife Fight Underdog Thrive comment. I believe that most of us, not everybody, most of us are positive people. Most people like to bet the over, the more. Not many people take the under. And that's where Vegas makes their money. Because I would think 55% of the people are over and 45% are under. And that's where they make their 10%. So what I want you to start doing to make some money on prop bets, let's be a little negative. Let's be negative Nancy's. Let's look here and say which games can be under and why. Exactly. Dave says this. Unders are stressful, but often the right play. Dave is right. Unders are stressful because the whole time you're like, no, don't score. No. Oh, I won. But unders are the right play more often than not. So let me put it to you this way. A guy gets hurt. Under. A guy gets a concussion. and leaves the game, under. The game flow doesn't go his way, under. There are so many more ways that guy could be under than over. Over, the defender trips, he scored a touchdown, over. Over, somebody else on the field got hurt, this guy gets fed more, over. Sometimes being negative is the right move. So what I want to start doing, like I said, let's look at Justin Herbert at 270. Could he be 270? Yes. But if Marcus Mariota is throwing the ball 14 times and they're running the ball and they're running effectively, which they will, Justin Herbert is going to have fewer plays. Let's start it with that. Secondly, Mike Williams is not there. Josh Palmer, I would call an intermediate threat, not a deep threat. Keenan Allen, intermediate threat, not a deep threat. So are these guys getting 15 yards in a chunk play? Yes. Are they getting 40? Not usually. The Mike Williams play is 40 downfield. So if the game flow goes in the direction that I think it could go, not saying it will go, it could go that way, I would think that Herbert will have fewer plays. Let's call it 60 plays. And now in 60 plays, he's got to maximize 270 yards. But what if they hand the ball off to Austin Eckler? What if he gets 20 touches? Now all of a sudden, Herbert has 40 passes. Well, what if he connects on 25? Are they going deep or are they going short? So I'm just saying a Herbert under is not out of the question. Esai says Keenan Allen didn't practice yesterday. I don't care about that. I care about Friday. Does he practice Friday when I'm on the show on Friday night? If he is, then I'm interested. How about Aaron Rodgers? Can this game go under? Sure. If they run the ball, if they hand it off to Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, and this could be one of those games where Aaron Rodgers only throws for 220, but he throws for 2 or 3 touchdowns because he doesn't have to. And if his receivers are out, he's not taking shots downfield. So I'm saying as we start thinking about the prop bets, we have to have our brain that says positive brain and negative brain. Negative brain, it's kind of a Debbie Downer. But you know what? It's important to think that way too. You know, Aaron Jones, 65.5 yards. Well, is he going to get 65.5 yards rushing? What if A.J. Dillon is more involved? Personally, I like to go over more in receiving yards because I think that's more predictable. Rushing yards are hard to predict. How about Raheem Mostert? A lot of people thought he was going to run for more than 67.5. He runs for 64. How does Vegas get it so close? I don't know either. But I know I'm going to take a quick timeout. When I come back, I will take a first look at the games, and we'll break it down right after this.
On call with Dr. Rowe. Hang out in the Bettor Zone. Will you track NFL live action on Bettor Sports Network?
I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing that when I look at the lines, I say, okay, if it's a Detroit game, I'm probably going to bet the over. I'm going to look for ways for it to go to the under, but I'm probably going to bet the over. There's certain things that I look at, and I don't know if that's a smart way to do it because you're using something that happened as biased, but to this point, it seems to be working out.
Yeah, I mean, everyone has their own strategy, right? On how they bet. I always tell people all the time, hey, whatever works for you, do it. It's kind of like in the old days, I used to be a personal trainer, and people would come in thinking there was only one way to work out, right? And I like, no, you got to find what works for you and your lifestyle. Plenty of ways to lose weight, and there's not one style. And I think betting's just like that. It took me years to figure out the right style for me. So, I had some tough runs as a youngster growing up, but you figure the stuff out. I don't really care what the public and the sharps are betting. I just don't. I understand it's an interesting little nugget that people put out there, but I don't think it impacts the game. So that's something I don't really look at much.
Middling is something we can try to do. You bet a team pregame -4, you live bet the other team +10. You can win both. Can you talk about that? Middling.
Listen, middling is that's why it's always hard to say like what the sharps are on. Sometimes the sharps are on 3 different plays in the same game. This is how they bet. They're looking for the best number, then live, they'll come in again on the other team. They're looking to hit this both ways. So that's a more advanced betting strategy that I don't think most people would do. But yeah, I mean, it's always a good idea. And again, when there's more games like in college, it's a little easier to do because you can find some good situations there. I try to do it once in a while. I probably don't do it as much as I should. Yeah, it's a great strategy.
Hang out in the Bettor Zone for a better NFL game day experience. Sundays at 1 Eastern on Bettor Sports Network. On Call with Dr. Roto on Bettor Sports Network.
All right, by the way, and yes, John Z, I said the negative brain is Debbie Downer. Negative brain, my wife. That's pretty funny. I need to tell you guys something that's critically important. Please listen to what I'm saying here. Prize Picks has Stephon Diggs at 85.5 receiving yards and Gabriel Davis at 50.5. Okay. Underdog has the same 2 guys, 91.5 and 58.5. Think about that. That's an 8-yard gap. Something to think about. Would we hedge? Would we take the over on one and the under on another? Maybe we would. Make double our money. But you have to, please, I beg you, odd shop. That's a big difference. That is a big difference. Now, underdog can do that. But I think underdog is interesting because you know what I may be starting to do on underdog? Finding some unders, baby. Underdog. Because if 58.5 here, 50 elsewhere, give me the under. It's so important. Money is hard to come by. It is. Money's hard to come by. And I want you guys to keep every penny you have and make more. So I beg you to odd shop. Don't pay more. Don't pay more when you don't have to. Go to Prize Picks, go to Underdog, go to Thrive, and see what's out there. But I mean, this is criminal. And by the way, Greg says, great work, Doc, watching from the hospital. Greg, I hope you're feeling better, my man. I hope you're not in. But if you are, we're thinking of you. All right? Appreciate you watching. Let's see. Aaron Romeo Dobbs, 48.5 receiving. Let's see. Romeo, where art thou? 48. I think I saw him at 49 before. Yeah, 49. So isn't that weird? On Prize Picks, he's at 49, and the other one he's at 48. That's better. I like to see the guys where there's discrepancy. That's where we come in. Discrepancy opens a hole for us to make money. It's like a running back. You open the hole for me, I'm taking it. Should I drop the 49ers D or keep him through the bye week to grab the Chiefs defense? The Chiefs have a pretty good schedule coming up. So I'm going to take time because my man Greg is in the hospital, and that is not where we want him to be. So let me check this out for you, Greg. One moment, please. Please hold. The Chiefs have the Titans, Jaguars, Chargers, Rams, Bengals, Broncos, Texans, Seahawks. The Chiefs are interesting. Chiefs are interesting. I have no problem with it. Might be a really good move. All right. So let me take a look at this week. I'm going to give you the one thing I'm looking at. Eagles, Texans. I'm looking at Miles Sanders and how many yards he can run for. I'm thinking 150. Chargers, Falcons. I'm looking at Keenan Allen. Is he back in the lineup? And are they throwing him the football? Because if they are, he should have a very nice week. Dolphins, Bears. Which Justin Fields do we get? And which Dolphins defense do we get? Do we get the Dolphins defense who's committed to the pass rush? Because if they are, they can make Justin Fields look silly. Panthers, Bengals. Oh, Panthers are playing better, but man, the Bengals were embarrassed. I think I want to be looking at what Joe Burrow's doing. Packers and Lions, if the Packers want any chance of making the playoffs, they have to win this week. And if Dan Campbell wants to keep his job, and I hope he does, but I mean, look, you got to produce. Colts, Patriots, I'm looking at the quarterbacks. I'm also looking at Ramondre Stevenson. I'm looking at a lot of things here. Mac Jones against Sam Ehlinger. What's happening here? One of these guys needs to step up. I think it needs to be Mac Jones. At home, New England, embarrassed the last time at home. Bills, Jets. Oh, the Bills are going to crush the Jets. I do believe that. Zach Wilson is not ready for this defense. And the Jets 5-3 is going to feel like a bye. Vikings, Commanders. Are the Vikings truly a 6-1 team? Can they go on the road and establish Justin Jefferson the way they need to? I don't know about that. But this is a little Kirk Cousins revenge narrative game. Can they run Dalvin Cook? I'm interested in that one very carefully. For the Commanders, I want to see Terry McLaurin against Patrick Peterson, and I want to see Brian Robinson. The Raiders and Jaguars. I mean, the Raiders were embarrassed. They've got to come and do a better job this week. And this is a Josh Jacobs week. But what about Devontae Adams? I'm not buying the flu. It wasn't the flu. It was the stink, the stench, not the flu. For the Jaguars, can ETN keep it up? All right, Seahawks and Cardinals. Seahawks are 5-3. The Cardinals are 3-5. I like the Cardinals at home. I think the Seahawks, that slipper feels like, I don't know. How is Geno going to do on the road? The Cardinals are tough against number one receivers. That might be a game where the Cardinals play well at home. I told you I like James Conner a little bit. The Rams, Buccaneers, that's the game that I think we all want a piece of. That's that 4 o'clock hammer in DFS. These two games at 4 o'clock I find to be interesting. You know, Tom Brady, 3-5. That division is still winnable. Both these teams, 3-4 and 3-5, they lose this game, it could be over. I am keyed in on this one. I think the Bucs play well. I do. I think the Bucs play well. Titans and Chiefs. Titans are not a 5-2 team. They lost the freaking Giants. Chiefs, though, that's a team. That's a team. But can Derrick Henry run for 150 yards? He's going to have to. And then finally, the Ravens and Saints. I'm very interested in seeing how the Saints play, but I love the Ravens. And I think the Ravens need to step it up right there. But right now it's time to put away the insurance cards, put away the copay. The office is closed, my friends. I want to thank Joe and Anthony for doing a great job producing the show. Appreciate them. I want to thank you guys for listening. And I hope you enjoyed what we did. Greg, I hope you feel better. I hope you guys come back on Friday so we can break down the game some more. Check me out at drroto.com. Best value out there in all of fantasy. We'll do whatever we can to get you to a fantasy championship. All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your week. Once again, I'm back on Friday. This is Dr. Roto saying, be well, take care.